Hello guys and welcome to another MK Mobile video. Guys, today we are talking about the Faction Wars store. We want to talk about what is worth buying in your first days in the game. Now let's start with the characters. I'm going to talk about the characters in details, guys. However, you have to remember that in the beginning you shouldn't be focusing on the characters. They should come after you max out almost all equipment pieces. But if you want to know which one is the best out of the 4 characters, I would say that the best character out of those 4, once maxed out, is by far Classic Scorpion. However, it will be always good to have only one fusion of Classic Ermac before you start working on Classic Scorpion. Reason being, Classic Ermac has incredibly useful passive against bosses, and even at Fusion 0 level 1, this passive will be working for you, and this passive will be making your life easier against tower bosses. So, once again, let's summarize all I said about characters. You shouldn't be prioritizing characters in the beginning. What you have to do is focus on equipment first. However, if you still want to max the characters first, or let's say that you have already maxed equipment and you want to focus on characters, then the best character out of the 4 is Classic Scorpion, but once maxed out. However, first of all, buy just one copy of Classic Ermac because his passive is incredibly useful in towers. And if you want to know which one is better between Tanya and Sub-Zero, I would say Tanya. Sub-Zero used to be very good card for a brief period of time, but then they nerfed him back to oblivion. So I would say that he's not even worth maxing out at the moment. If you want, you can just get one copy of him so that you can have a better roster in general. And when it comes to the equipment, guys, now what is the sequence? Which should be the first item that you should max out? Now, in my opinion, the best item that you should start with is the Bloody Tomahawk. You have to max Bloody Tomahawk out. At Fusion 10 it gives you 1 bar of power, it gives you bonus in Faction Wars, pretty useful item. Also it gives chance to power drain enemies on special too. Another equipment that you want to max in the beginning is a Devastator. Unfortunately, the problem with the Devastator that it is quite expensive, 450 rubies for one single copy, even though it can be achieved without any issues. So it is totally up to you, and I would say up to your playstyle, whether you want to max the Devastator or Bloody Tomahawk first. I went for the Bloody Tomahawk, and that's my beginner account, so I don't really care of what I'm doing. I'm just maxing out some equipment. But if it was my very first account, then I'll definitely go for Bloody Tomahawk or Devastator as my first item. When it comes to the second item, you can go for Bloody Voodoo Dough or Shansung Stone. It's up to you. I would say Bloody Voodoo Dough is better in general because the Shansung Stone kind of works only in Faction Wars. The Bloody Voodoo Dough also partially works only in Faction Wars, but you get the damage, I'm sorry, not the damage, but the reduction of power cost of all special attacks and the power generation. You get it in every single game mode. So I would say Bloody Voodoo Dough is pretty awesome. And the third item that you should get, that you should max out, is, again, depending on your playstyle. It should be either Sindel's Ring or Shadow Sash. After the introduction of survival mode, guys, Shadow Sash is pretty good because it reduces the opponent a blockable chance. That's pretty awesome. Applies blind to the opponent at the beginning of the game. You take less special attacks damage. So in general, it is kind of okay item for your opener, and the beautiful thing about it is that you can give it to a character that is not your opener, and the entire enemy team is going to get blind in the beginning of the game anyways. So it's pretty interesting item, and it goes for only 400 per piece. Sindel's Ring also very useful for your opener because it gives resistance to slow and stun. That is pretty useful against Circle of Shadow Liu Kang. If you don't know who Circle of Shadow Liu Kang is, don't worry, you're going to get used to knowing him once you play a little bit of survival mode. He is everywhere, and you have to make sure that you survive his stun in the beginning, otherwise you might die. And the third item that you might consider, this item I would never recommend before update 3.0, but again, the reason why this item now is better than before is because, once again, it kind of counters partially Circle of Shadow Liu Kang, and you can give it to your starter. So it's pretty useful, much more useful than it used to be in the past. So let's summarize. When it comes to the items, I would recommend to start with either Bloody Tomahawk or Devastator or both. Then you have to proceed with Bloody Voodoo Dough or Shansung Stone. It totally ups to you. And then as a third option, you can go to Sindel's Ring, Shadow Sash, or Blazes Life Force. And when it comes to the other epics, for example, Moloch Ball and Chain is pretty good epic, but it is situational. And in the beginning of the game, you won't be using it that often, to be honest with you. Otherwise, it's a pretty good equipment card, so if you have a lot of characters that use Special 2 like all the time, then this is a pretty good equipment. However, once again, it is situational. The same applies to Bloody Shotgun Armor, situational item. For example, it's pretty good on Guardian Terminator and any other character that blocks a lot. And the Tusha Bane of the Moroi is extremely situational item. I would recommend to max it out as your total last choice. And we got to the consumables, guys. Now, when it comes to the consumables, you shouldn't be spending any Blood Rubies in the beginning of your MK Mobile journey on consumables. They are simply not worth. One revive potion goes to 1000 rubies. That's extremely important to know, and that is very expensive. Totally not worth, guys. Now, what I would usually recommend people is, if you're going to spend something here, and when I say spend something here, this will mean that you have maxed every single equipment piece and you have maxed every single character except, for example, of Classic Sub-Zero. Then it is much better to spend your rubies on epic equipment repair kit, because usually if I have two strong teams, I would give my total best equipment to the first team, and then on the second team I don't have my greatest gear because it is all broken, right? So what I will do is I'm going to repair my extremely important epics. Usually this is going to be something like the Living Dead, because the Living Dead will revive your character after dying, and it is very important not to die in survival mode. So instead of eventually trying my best, instead of testing my luck whether I'm going to beat with not that great gear and eventually dying on battle 13, then I have to use a revive potion, what I would do is I would invest 500 rubies in my main fighter in this team in order to repair my very best and important items, such as, for example, the Living Dead, or if in your case it might be the Right Hammer, and so on and so on. This is going to be that piece which is going to turn the tides, that piece that will make your life easier in the tower. So this is going to be my overall recommendation. Just if you're going to spend anything here, I would say Health Potion is also good because it's very cheap, only 100 rubies, but the Revive Potion is never a good thing, guys. Better just repair 2 epics rather than spending 1 revive potion. Of course, that's if you know what you're doing. I'm not saying repair any 2 random epics, just the 2 epics that you know that will turn the tides. For example, I love using Living Dead and the Cybernetic Heart. Those are 2 epics that come from towers. If I repair them and give them to my main damage dealer, I know that in 99% of the cases I'm going to win the tower, so I don't have to revive anybody. Yeah, basically this is it. So once again, let's recap everything we said. When it comes to characters, you shouldn't prioritize them first, you have to prioritize the equipment. And in the beginning, max Bloody Tomahawk, Devastator, one of those 2 or both, it doesn't matter. Then proceed with Bloody Voodoo Doll and or Shang Tsung Stone. And in the end, max out Synthos Ring, Blazes Life Force and Shadow Sash. Moloch Ball and Chain is pretty good equipment, but it is situational, and the worst item here in the equipment store is the Tusha, which is extremely situational. When it comes to characters, the best characters out of these 4 is Classic Scorpion, without any doubts, he is a beast. However, in the beginning, just get 1 copy of Classic Ermac before starting investing rubies in Classic Scorpion. Also, you can ignore Classic Sub-Zero or just get 1 copy of him in the end, because he isn't really that strong at the moment. When it comes to consumables, I would recommend only spend on health potions and on epic equipment repair if you know what you're doing. And of course, you have to remember that consumables, you shouldn't spend anything on consumables in the beginning. You should spend consumables only after you have maxed everything in equipment and everything in characters apart from Classic Sub-Zero. Okay guys, this is going to be all from me for today. I really hope you found this video useful. See you next time. Take care and stay safe.